Good morning, all you steel guys out there. Well, no, I'm the steel guy. Scott Glenn's another steel guy there. We're here on our podcast, week 10/21/25, here to talk about the ongoing news in the metal supply chain for all you busy professionals out there. Don't forget to sign up for a couple places here as we get a little housekeeping notes before we get into this. We have our YouTube channel, Steel Guys, and then we have our networking channel for busy professionals to meet other busy professionals in the supply chain of metals, and that's steelguys.steelrep.com. And if you have any questions, want to get a hold of us, direct message us on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is Jim Glenn III, the third, and we have Scott Glenn, which is the president of Sunbelt Steel. Those are the two of us there. And so with that, we'll be monitoring our chats in the LinkedIn, YouTube, and we have a Zoom. If you do find your way to the Zoom, it's there, and we'll be monitoring the chats over there as well. Let me just double click it looks like okay. It looks like we're live on all the platforms, so we're good there. And let me go hello world and the LinkedIn there and see if it comes through to see which word pops through there. So it actually did pop through on the YouTube channel. So we're live on all channels. Let me say hello to Scott Glenn here, bring him on here. And you know what? Guess what? I got to get his camera up and rolling here. We didn't check that. We had it checked earlier, and then we hung up and got back. So let me put up his camera real quick. Should just take me a half second. Whoopsie, I chose the wrong one. Chose myself, which is not a good idea. So here we go. And with that, let me bring in Scott Glenn. Hello, Scott Glenn.
Good morning. Camera's there. I hope everybody can hear me. Welcome all you busy professionals in the supply chain of metals. You know, we're
you caught that, didn't you?
Yeah. We're looking forward to facilitating a conversation with anybody and everybody out there who wants to participate. So we'll just talk about some current market news and just kind of have some chit chat on what's going on in the market. And if anybody has any specific information or any discussions that they want to talk about, hey, feel free to reach out. We're here. We'd love to hear from you.
And if you're watching this on the recording, get a hold of us. We're trying to get this to a point where we can bring it into a little more intimate venue and put it on like a Zoom meeting instead of a Zoom webinar, where you can come on and you can open up your camera if you'd like, or we could dialogue. Instead of texting or chatting, we can put it right on the talk and discuss the items of the week. So keep that in mind if you're watching this on the recording or live here. Some of the things that I'm kind of going to go over a list of questions we'd like to get answered here today as we talk about this, and then we'll go into the each kind of point from there. So the couple questions was, how might the Thyssen-Krupp deal reshape the European steel competitiveness, especially for green steel? With silver flows easing the London squeeze, what does this tell about the other metals markets? For example, zinc, copper, and rare earths. 3, how will Canada's targeted tariff relief affect regional supply chains for steel and aluminum and downstream manufacturing versus upstream producers? And then 4 is the U.S.-Australia minerals deal. What regions or companies benefit the most, and what new bottlenecks may emerge, for example, at the processing and refining capacities? 5, auto OEMs reacting to the rare earth export risks. How should the steel/metal service centers and the downstream suppliers respond to that? And then finally, a green metal pricing frameworks emerging and how this will alter premiums for low carbon metals, steel and metals, and influence sourcing decisions. So there's a lot to talk about.
I'd like to just throw in there, Jim, is that all those questions that you just asked there's a whole lot of discussions that could be had on each and every one of them. And again, like I said earlier, we're here to facilitate the conversations. There's a lot of that stuff, the rare earths and red metal market and some of that kind of stuff that I'm not real familiar with. So if we get into the subjects and someone out there has some good input, please step on, because we'd love to hear from you and get your input. We like to learn.
Like to learn and facilitate the discussion amongst our friends and relatives out there.
Yeah.
So the last week's worth of developments here, again, it mirrors that process, that straight down there. And the ThyssenKrupp, one of the reasons they wanted to talk about that was the intent. There's some intensive talks between Thyssen and Jindal over a potential sale of its steel division, which is the ThyssenKrupp Steel Europe. And so Jindal is looking to purchase the ThyssenKrupp Steel Europe. And this deal would include investment in the green steel facility that they already have started up and are working on. So that's one of the things, a bit of news out there. I still kind of, I don't know. You look at all the different factors there, and the first thing that came to mind for myself there was the U.S. tariff trade with India right now and how they're pursuing that. And they're wanting India to give up their purchases of Russian oil at this point, something like that. So I'm not quite sure how all that pops together or what but that's again a European thing.
Yeah, and that's another, one of those subjects that I don't really get into great depth on is the green steel market. I mean, obviously it's a real thing. I've heard about it. But obviously a deal of that magnitude, it's pretty serious if they're going to focus on their green steel production facility. So
is it focus or just keep it going?
I kind of interpreted it that was one of their main interests. Maybe not a focus. That's a bad word.
It says the deal includes an investment in a green steel facility. So
that it already exists. Yeah.
Well, or that they've got planned anyway. Not necessarily.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
They have an investment in green steel started or whatever, and so they don't want to buy the unit and then shut that down. They want to keep that investment going, I guess, as part of the deal. They don't want Jindal to come in and stop that from going on. So, and it does say they're intensive talks, so they're still cooking out there.
And so when it's referred to as green steel, I mean, is that just the carbon emissions in the atmosphere? Is that pretty much what it is?
I think so, and I don't know if it uses sustainable energy sources as well. If they create them, that's one of the other things is sustainable energy sources, because you can only do so much with your production of steel, right? And again, you still have technologies that scrub the scrubbers and stuff like that take the exhausts, cleans it up a little bit. But I don't know that how much more than other than using sustainable, reusable, not reusable, but what is it? Reduce, reuse, recycle the. Sustainable green energies. Yeah. Because again, I guess that's a big factor in steel production is the electricity, right?
Right, the energy to produce it, sure. Yeah. Okay.
It's a big factor. Okay, so, hey, hi Leon, how you doing out there? Friends from the whole world. Where are you logging in from, Leon? Let me know on that. Moving into the silver market, I guess the news from the silver market was the squeeze in London has eased. So tens of millions of troy ounces of silver from the U.S. and China flowed into London vaults to alleviate the tightness. So I wonder why we had so much in China and U.S. excess capacity. I don't know the answer to that question, but that's what begs the question to me in that particular one.
Yeah, I know silver prices have been going up pretty high. I know gold's hit record highs, but I think silver's hit some pretty high numbers here in the recent past.
Records.
I didn't look at it today, but records as well.
Last couple of weeks. Well, like 2 weeks ago, or I don't know if it's eased off of that, but it's 4,200 or something like that. I didn't look at it this morning.
Well, gold's at that range. I mean, silver's in the range of like 50. I think it was $50 or $52. I think something like that.
Something. Well, we don't use a lot of silver in our wheelhouse there, so I keep thinking about that, coins or something like that. I don't know at what point do the small amount of silver that are in coins or whatever, does it become like the penny in copper? It's, costs more to make a penny than it is, than it's worth.
Yeah.
They stop making it, right?
Yeah. Did they finally stop making those?
I think so. I don't. Well, maybe they put an order in to do that, or
There was talk of it, man.
I don't know if they're
Different
planning on it and getting it out of there or whatever. I don't know. Making a zillion of them before they do it. And they have probably already had plenty of copper ordered and in line and in process, and the dies and all that stuff. So they're gonna phase it out over time, maybe.
I suppose if everybody who had their coin collections, just spare change collections, turned in all their pennies, from the closet that they have, we probably could solve the copper problem, and the cost of copper would probably go down.
Throw it out there. Yeah. So into the next one is the tariff relief from Canada. Canada, which announced a tariff relief on certain steel and aluminum products imported from the United States and China, effective October 15th, targeting downstream industries. Tariff relief. I did not read up on that a little bit. Did you look at that at all specifically?
I did not. I was going to ask you. Canada is lowering their tariffs on the downstream products imported into Canada. Is that what they're saying?
Yes, imported, but it doesn't say that they're lowering the tariff. It says tariff relief, and I don't know if that's a tax rebate
tariff
or
relief.
Tariff
relief. It's not right to make an assumption, but yeah.
And I don't know here, though, it does say that to the steel and aluminum products, and I don't know if they're referring to the raw element on the aluminum. It looks to me like they're talking about
derivative products.
Yeah, right? Somewhat. Maybe a product could be coil too. I mean, it could be just a coil or a bar, an ingot. I don't know. I don't know what aluminum, which specifically they're probably finding a deficit in their production there, and they need to buy it from offshore, to bring it in and get that. So that'd be my guess why they would want that. They wouldn't.
Well, I have to keep tabs on that and see what happens on it.
Yeah. Let's see. The other United States and Australia signed a $8.5 billion critical minerals / rare earths deal to reduce dependence on China, with shared investment commitments and supply chain provisions. Comes directly from the AP News.
Wow. That's one of those subjects, as I kind of alluded to earlier, is that the rare earth minerals. I'm not real familiar with the significance of that, or I know what they are, but obviously it's a big issue. And if China's going to hold back on supplying their rare earth products to the world, or even the United States, I guess we have to go elsewhere. So it sounds like a smart idea to me.
I wasn't quite, again, I know like tungsten, cobalt, are they rare earths? What if I haven't really looked at that. So what is I know critical minerals as opposed to rare earths. I don't know what the difference between those two categories are, or if they're one and the same. Some of the rare earths are included in the critical, and I guess the critical are something you need to produce certain products. Let's see what happened. Canada offers tariff relief. Hey, Victor, how you doing, Victor? Had a long time no see. We got to get on here. We're going to have to put this up here and get into a. In fact, if you guys, I'm going to put the see if I can find the link to the webinar. And if you want to get on video, I'd be happy to. Well, we're not set up to push that back, so that's not going to work today. We could hear you and see you, or I could anyway, but nobody else could, I guess. So, see the metals company, they have new technology to extract rare earth minerals from the sea. Oh, okay. From the sea floor. I mean, again, I've been doing a little bit of study on the tectonic plates and stuff like that on the sea floor, but I know there's that, what's that depth, that one trench? Gosh, I should be able to pull that out of my head, but there's a trench out there that goes way, way, way down there. But the sea floor, I guess, like off the coast of California, it drops off it's pretty shallow for a little while, and then it drops off real deep, fairly close to the shore. And other ones slide out a little bit. So the seafloor can be really deep at some places. Yeah, what's the trench?
Is the point that a lot of the rare earth elements that the agreement between the U.S. and Australia are going to be found on the earth, the ocean floor? Is that what the comment says?
You guys use Chinese supply chain. Have you guys used Leon? Chinese supply chain before? Yes. Yes, we have. We've sold quite a bit of material out of the Chinese market. Definitely a lot out of Taiwan, which isn't Chinese, but the Asian market there. And a lot of those, there's some relationships between those companies that we've had. But yes, we have also sold some Chinese material and still do sell a little bit of Chinese material into the market. Good to see that. Victor, we'll keep you in the chat then. Sorry. Yeah. Well, one of these days we'd like to get on there and get face to face with you. That's one of the things I'd like to do there too. Let's see, what's the next one here? Automakers are rushing to secure here's again rare earth materials ahead of the Chinese November export controls. So I don't know where are they getting it from. Are they trying to get it from China as much as they can from China?
Just to secure their supply wherever it comes from, I suppose. But how much in an automobile? I wonder how much is a rare earth. How much does it affect an automobile? But apparently,
probably a bit, especially the electric vehicles. There's the magnets and the motors that are. They need those elements to produce those products.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So when you say that, Victor, they're found in more places than just China and Australia. We have domestic. You're saying the elements themselves. Now, are we mining them at the rate that we need to, or do we have to get the mines back up and running again in processing facilities as well? I think that was one of the big issues. Was China had all the processing facilities. They bought a couple of processing facilities that were supposed to over here in the United States, and their agreement was that they were going to keep it producing here for 5 years or something like that. And then 5 years and one day they shut it down and took all the equipment to China. And I don't know what element that was, but I remember hearing that in the last couple of weeks, that event. And again, that's not just 5 years. That could have been a long time ago that happened. Mm-hmm. Something like that, but quite interesting, the thing. So let's see. At the London Metal Exchange, key takeaways included the emergence of green metal pricing via some tightening in the copper, aluminum, and germanium supply chains. So I had the copper, aluminum, and germanium supply chains because of green metal pricing.
The green metal pricing has its own title now. So I mean it's an interesting. I have to do a little more learning on that, educating myself a little more what that means, because I don't really know. Yeah, Chinese goods are very, Leon, cost-effective in the world and can help buyers get better market. Yes, Leon, that's correct. But apparently, one of the problems we have in the United States is trying to offset that by our tariffs are certainly making them cost prohibitive in many cases. A lot of the steel products, anyway, and a lot of goods. I mean, a lot of goods that are coming from China they're cost-effective to begin with. CIF. Shanghai port, but you try to import it into the United States and it doubles its price. Yep. So, and that goes for just about any product out of China at this point. Yes. Again, why we're trying to make a deal with, you get the rare earth and critical minerals that need to be, we still need those to produce stuff. So copper. Yeah, well, that's that whole tariff issue. I think it's, still trying to find that level ground where it needs to even out everything. It's going to take a while. Yeah. So copper, you say copper, Victor, you say copper is currently under a 50% tariff. So it's not they didn't increase that one. I think most of them are 50 right now too, aren't they? Or is
The steel, isn't steel 50 or did they double that?
No, I think you mean for China or
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it's at 50, but there might be some additional
All the
duties.
232s. Yeah, well, yeah. The 232 tariffs, but then there's, sometimes there's product. I know, like an
Yeah.
A312 pipe or whatever, there's always that extra duty that was imposed prior to that anyway.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, Victor, you can make a great point there with the China, India are not the chosen countries for DoD work. We've in DFARS, we've run into that quite a bit. There's a lot of that. People will just state that right off the bat. Sometimes DFARS or DoD countries that are approved for that, and not necessarily you have to worry about tariffs and duties and all that stuff. It's the country of origin that becomes the important part there.
Right.
So the tariffs have eroded the U.S. manufacturing base. You think that Victor? I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about that on your point there about eroding. I've seen we're bringing back Canada shut down on one of the U.S. manufacturers shut down a Canadian auto facility and are bringing that production to the United States. I don't know if that
Jeep. I think you said
was it Jeep. I remember that last week or the week before. I've seen Intel, bringing in, instead of being a $500 billion worth of investment, they're going to $1 trillion worth of investment and things like that. I've seen a few of those out there like that, and I wonder.
I would agree that it slowed it down short term, but to your point, Jim, I think long term, that's probably going to be beneficial as people start to ramp up some of these things. But I know that I think it's to the point that's being made is that, production in this country is kind of lackluster right now because a lot of people are still kind of wondering where the tariff levels are going to level out at, and so they're kind of waiting.
Yeah, I suppose anybody that's manufacturing a product here in the United States, they have to sell it. Now, if they're selling 100% of their product back into the United States, they have a full market, they can keep their mill full. Now, if they were exporting that product, some of their production was being exported, and all of a sudden their costs go up 50% on the steel, that export number to sell that downstream product offshore then would be, it would put them a little, probably uncompetitive in the market where they're selling that product.
Right.
So they're going to lose that. So our U.S. manufacturing base would decline in that case. But if you're 100% selling 100% of your product back in the United States, yeah. And I agree with you there, Victor, that the uncertainty in the market has caused many of the projects to be pinned, to put on hold there for a while.
I agree wholeheartedly on that one.
Definitely.
I don't know what. I don't know what it's going to take to create some certainty. People have there's so much uncertainty right now on what the pricing level is going to be at. Because when you talk about 25% increase on something, that's just not a little bump. That's pretty significant increase. Not to mention 50%. So yeah,
and that might only be 10% of their cost of the production too. Who knows?
Yes, this is true. Yeah.
So it takes it from 10 to 12% or something like that. It depends. Each product's going to be a little bit different depending how intensive the raw materials are and their production costs. Mm-hmm. So, we always talk about that, Victor. Excellent comment that all of this is very much connected. And I say that every week as we have a subject we're talking about, because I said even the tariffs, putting tariffs in. I'm a free market guy. And I always say this, I'm a free market guy. I like free trade, open free trade. However, there's so many factors. If a foreign government chooses to control their currency to make their costs differently, or if they choose to not, pay attention to the environment and, pollute their stuff, at what point do you have to offset those costs, and again, it's not to be a free market, because if we're going to restrict our guys to, having EPA regulations that are very costly and other countries are not, do we let that happen and buy it from their countries, or do we let them in pollute, or do we restrict that?
Well, the term free versus you got to throw the phrase fair in there too, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
free and fair.
We've talked about that. We've talked about that as well as the labor rate and energy costs. If they have a much cheaper source of energy that they're utilizing, but what is it doing to the environment? And who judges that, and how do you level that out?
Yeah, and excellent point, Victor, on the executive orders that are out there. They need to be made law, because that's what Trump got rid of, all the stuff that, on day one, whatever, all the stuff that he didn't want from the last executive orders, and now you got to make it into law. I agree with that.
That's where some certainty comes into play. That takes that uncertainty and puts it into a little more certainty when you have some laws established.
You think Washington would figure that out too? I don't know. Again, with the midterms, you only have till the midterms before it may change again. It may change again, and you might, if you lose Congress, the balance goes out. What do you do then? You got 2 years of executive branch pulling all the strings, but nothing happening over in the legislative branch.
It's a big chess game.
Yes, it is. Yeah, China as a whole completely industrial. How do you guys think about manufacturing industry back to U.S.? I think what you're saying there, Leon, is that what you're saying? With the Trump trying to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. by with his tariffs.
I think a lot of that has to do with the free aspect too. I mean, it's got to be a level playing field. And anyway, obviously they, in the United States, we have America first, and we have to make sure that our country is solid. And I don't know, that's a good question. What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, when the midterms start, that's right, Victor. The midterms are the key. You've got to get things pushed through now in law. I've shut down the government for another 6 months. Maybe better. I don't know. So the industry, manufacturing, is being destroyed by the tariffs. The fact that the tariffs are executive orders and not laws perpetuate the unwillingness for companies to invest in future orders, stock, and long-term plans. The unwillingness, not only unwillingness, but the uncertainty, it adds to that complexity so much.
Right.
And I agree. We need to iron these out sooner than later.
Agreed.
Some of these deals going and done and over with, and get things going. All right, so it's coming up on the half hour on the hour. Half hour on the hour. Half hour on the half hour. The kind of the notes that we have put together, that was the news for the week we kind of went over. We appreciate the conversation out there, everyone. We do this again next week. Next week we're doing it on, did I say Wednesday? We're doing Wednesday at 11 a.m. is what we're doing next week. Correct. It's set up. Our YouTube channel, Steel Guys, if you subscribe to that, it'll pop up and show you that we're coming. You got that notification on those. Steel Guys is the name of our YouTube channel. And then again on LinkedIn, if you see it on LinkedIn, it is posted. I think I posted it earlier, and you can click on that attend button, and then you get notified from there. And then we also do have in those descriptions, there is a link to the webinar, the Zoom webinar, which if you sign up for the Zoom webinar, it will send you those, meeting reminders out too. So, I know next week's a week away, and you forget, Wednesday at 11. If you don't put it in your calendar, then you might not, remember and just pass it. It is recorded on the YouTube channel, but again, it's not live, so we can't, talk like we have, which was really nice. So, Victor, you say we need to start lobbying our local congressman. Yes. That's a nice thing. That's a good point. We should probably see if we can get it out there and promote that a little bit, and maybe see if we can get a list of names and email campaigns or something that we can put together on that. That's a nice idea. let us know how we can work with you on that, Victor. If you can, just you got my email. Send something if we could do something. Working on that would be nice to have conversations with people like the Crenshaw's new replacement, and would like to get meeting with Wesley Hunt and more. Yeah, okay. Yeah, always a pleasure, Leon, Victor, and Leon. Nice talking to you guys. We'll see
and
you.
also too, I mean, Victor and Leon, the steel guys at steelrep.com, we can have further conversation on that. Check that out. We'd love to see you on there as well. We can, continue this conversation in a more private arena, if you'd like. Well, not private, but I mean, it's still a community, but.
So I think Leon came up with one more comment here. I think there's a certain degree of difficulty because many buyers in Europe and the United States have become accustomed to purchasing products directly from Chinese factories, considering both cost effectiveness and convenience. Due to some current policy issues, many entrepreneurs find it difficult to decide to rebuild factories for production, which is exactly it. I think, Victor, you made that point several times too, the uncertainty in the market. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming today. Enjoyed the conversation. Again, we do it again next Wednesday at 11 o'clock, the 29th. And in the meantime, you guys have a great week, great weekend, and look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thank you very much.